I am here to record. I have opinions. So I'm going to discuss the Wendy Williams biopic, which came on Saturday, and I literally just finished watching it, and it was really good. It was really good. It was sad, but it was really good, and I applaud Wendy for sharing and standing in her truth. She has, gained a newfound respect from me. And I used to have like I used to have a love-hate relationship with Wendy. Like when she first came out, she was just like loud and aggressive and whatnot. But as time went on, I grew to kind of like her. And then when she got her talk show, I was excited. But I even went to a taping of her show before, and I like after the Leah biopic came out, I kind of stopped watching her show because that biopic was terrible. I'll get to that later. But yeah, Wendy Williams the movie. So the movie was really good. I will say that Wendy Williams is a very strong individual. She went through a lot. She has tough ass skin because I couldn't imagine going through half of the stuff that she went through. So, the movie pretty much started with her upbringing, and as a child, her parents were very much on her about her weight, telling her that she would look so much prettier if she lose some weight. They were weighing her like damn near daily. They were trying to put her on a diet, all kinds of things. And like one scene was where she peed in the bed, and her mom was like, see, because you're overweight, it's too much pressure on your bladder. And Wendy, her voiceover was like, it was anxiety, which a lot of parents don't know that kids have anxiety too. Like they have these mental health problems or whatever, and it starts really young. So parents are just further making it worse by, saying, oh, you're too fat, you're too this, you're too that. And that's really a big, huge hit on your self esteem. So, we see as she got older, I think in her 20s or so, she developed a coke habit to lose weight. Now, she was doing, she said herself that she wasn't like on a big level of addiction, but she was doing coke at least 5 times a week, you know? So, she was interviewing an artist named Ricky Tony or whatever. She was very excited about it because he was like, a big, he was a big artist, pretty much. And at the time, she was working at a radio station in Jersey. So her dream was to get to New York, working the radio stations in New York. So she, Ricky Tony asked her out or whatever, and he told her, I have to go to my hotel room to change or whatever. So she went with him, and he was in the shower, I guess, and he came out in a towel, and she's telling him, I don't want to have sex or anything. And she's like, I'm good, maybe we should slow down or whatever. And he's still forcing himself on her. Next thing you know, he date raped her. So that's something that nobody knew, and she took that as a lesson, as that'll be the last time anybody shuts me up. I'm gonna have a voice or whatever. So she finally got like a part-time gig at Hot 97. They finally called her. So I think she was only working weekends at Hot 97. So she kept her job in Jersey so that she would have income from both. Still was having a coke habit. So eventually Hot 97 let her go, and she never really specified why. She specified it in her documentary, but she didn't specify why they let her go. So she ended up going to um WBLS because she wanted to be, Carol Ford was her idol. So she wanted to work alongside her or whatever. And then when, she was there, Wendy would always talk about the gossip in the streets and everything. They liked it, and they offered her like a permanent spot at Kiss FM. So while she was out, like, partying or whatever, she started getting involved with Eric B, which I never even knew from Eric B and Rakim. Now, she thought that they were in a relationship. Didn't know that they were pretty much technically in a situationship and he was using her or whatever. So, um, he ruined her credit and he got her pregnant and she aborted the baby. So, and she said the abortion, that was like the loneliest time ever. Like nobody was there to offer her moral support, which is sad because when women go through having abortions or whatever, like that's a time where, you need support because that's a very traumatic experience. So, you need support or whatever, but to know that she did that by herself, I'm pretty sure that really damaged her spirit and broke her a little bit. Like, I felt for her in that moment. So, now she, fast forward, she meets Kevin in a club and he got his friend to give her his number or whatever. So she called him a couple of days later. They met up or whatever, was just talking, chatting in the car. And, she liked him. She grew to like him or whatever. She liked his, his appeal. Kevin was rough around the edges. He was a thug with a heart of gold or whatever. And she felt safe around him. So, once they started furthering their relationship in, she told Kevin, she said, listen, I have always had problems with my weight. My parents, they drilled it in my head that I was fat, I was this, I was that. I'm just letting you know to make me feel better. I'm going to get implants and I'm going to get liposuction. She's like, I don't want you to pay for it. I already have the money for it, but this is what I'm doing to make me happy. So, Kevin supported her, was like, listen, if that's what's gonna make you happy, go ahead and do it. And she went and she got it done. So, after she got it done, her confidence was, sky high. She was happy, but um people at I think Kiss or whatever, they didn't like what she was doing. Like what she was doing was too controversial for radio at the time. Like she was, out in a lot of rappers, a lot of artists for like their financial struggles, like if they're down low, like just spilling all of their tea. And, Kiss didn't want to be affiliated with it. They didn't want that kind of heat on them, so they let her go. But she was under a non-compete clause. Like she couldn't work at another radio station within 80 miles of New York. So she packed up and she went to Philly and worked there. Now, when she worked in Philly, she said her bosses there were assholes. They were they had a problem with her all the time. So she was like, Philly was number 15, I guess, on the charts for radio, and she took it to number 1 with her gossip and all of that other stuff. So um while in Philly, she found out she was pregnant, and 7 weeks into her pregnancy, she had a miscarriage. So around this time, this is when Kevin had asked her to marry him, and they were engaged, and she got pregnant again. 5 months into that pregnancy, she had another miscarriage. So then she got pregnant again, and this time things seem to have been going good, but I think she bent down to pick something up and felt a very bad pain in her stomach, went to the hospital. Doctor told her it was a stillborn baby girl. She had to deliver a stillborn baby girl. So that pretty much broke her. Like, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine. So Kevin tells her, listen, let's get married. Maybe we'll be able to keep a baby if we're married. And, this is God's plan. Let's get married. So they got married. She went to a doctor and she's like, listen, I've been to like 4 or 5 different doctors and they're all telling me the same thing. So this doctor in particular was like, listen, your cervix you have a weak cervix. Now, the best way for you to be able to carry a baby to full term is if you stay off your feet. When you stand up, you can't hold the weight of the baby properly. So you have to stay off your feet. So she's like, wow, I went to all these doctors and they're telling me all of these things, pretty much telling me that I can't bear a child. And you're just telling me that all I need to do is lay my ass down. So, sure enough, she got pregnant again with Kevin Jr. And she was still working at the radio station in Philly, and her whole pregnancy, she broadcasted and everything. They brought the equipment to her house. She was doing her radio show pregnant as hell from her bed. Go get her. So after, her pregnancy was high risk, but she gave birth to Kevin Jr. So, a few weeks after Kevin was born, she said that she overheard a conversation that Big Kevin was having with some girl that he was seeing. She found out that he cheated on her, and he said that he was seeing some girl, for attention or whatever, because him and Wendy haven't been intimate in over a year. And it's like, and this is what I don't get. I don't think men understand the hell that our bodies go through carrying a child. Like, it's a lot. We don't feel attractive. Our hormones is out of whack. We feel disgusting, and we're emotional, and we can't even handle those emotions when we're pregnant. Like, we really want to. We try to, but it's so hard. We can't. We have no control over our emotions when we are pregnant. And I hear way too often about how men are like, well, we haven't been intimate in this amount of time, and you don't want me to touch you. You're always crying. You're always this, blah, blah, blah. What I need for men to understand is that, yeah, we get it. You have needs. We're not knocking that at all. At least I'm not. You have needs. However, a pregnant woman is very fragile. She's very fragile. Even after we have the baby, the first 3 months after we have the baby, that is a very fragile moment, because in comes the postpartum depression. Depending on the baby, depending on how your pregnancy went, if you were stressed during your whole pregnancy, you're bound to have a colicky baby. And that's a baby that carried that stress because they were in your womb. So anything negative or stressful that happens during your pregnancy will breed it'll breed a stressful baby, a baby with anxiety, all kinds of stuff. But a newborn baby can't tell you this. They can't speak, they can only cry. So, because if you hear noise in the background, blizzard. So, she found out that Kev cheated or whatever. She forgave him. They didn't break up, but, she forgave him. So now after she done got snatched, the baby's a little older. She's feeling better about herself. She meets up with this guy named Biddy who works at WBLS, and she tells him, I'm ready to come back home. I'm ready to come back. So when she came back, this was like in 2001, she came back, she had her own show, Wendy Williams Experience. And, not a lot of people were happy that she came back or whatever. And she came back full throttle, like, still dishing the dirt, telling everybody's business. So now she's writing a book about her life, and she tells Kevin, listen, I'm writing this book. I'm going to talk about your affair. He's like, okay, go ahead. Little does she know that the affair is still continuing. And she hired a private investigator to follow him around. The private investigator found a lot of stuff about how Kevin has this condo in Miami, and it was initially known as the party condo. That's where he goes to smoke and drink with his friends, but that's also where he has his mistress. And I'll never forget, I remember Wendy had said something about Evelyn Lozada's son. And Evelyn had went on Twitter. I think she went on Twitter. She went on some social media platform and had brought up the fact that Wendy's husband came to her store and was shopping for shoes for his mistress. I'll never forget that. I remember Evelyn saying that, like, that was like a clapback to Wendy. But I remember, Evelyn saying that, and, at first people didn't really believe it, but there were rumors swirling around that Wendy's husband was cheating and he had a mistress, a long time mistress at that. So, come to find out, it's true. So she finds out about the mistress in Miami and whatnot. She got the pictures and she's like, bro, like you're boring. Like you're still doing this. And he's like, listen, I'm boring. You have a coke habit. I'm trying to protect you from all of these rappers who wanna, they wanna take you out because you're putting all their business out there or whatever. So again, she forgave him, but she said she would never love him the same. So their relationship became more of, you know, a business partnership than it was, a relationship, and then this is when the idea was brought up for her to have her own talk show. So, once she started getting a talk show, usually when they do talk shows, they'll do like a 6 week pilot, like a little 6 week sneak peek thing. And, that's when they do 5 shows for 6 weeks, and depending on how the ratings are and how good it does for the summer, they'll pick it up for the fall lineup. Wendy's show passed that or whatever, so she was able to get like I think a 2 year contract for her show, and then like as time went on, she kept getting recurring contracts and stuff. So Wendy's show was born or whatever. So after the success of the Wendy show, she finds out that Kev has a house 10 miles from where they live in Jersey with his mistress. And from what it sounds like, the house was better than the house that she had. So she went to that house. She gorilla glued the mailbox. And she spray painted on the garage, Kevin and Wendy forever. See, I feel like she was too nice with that. Because if it were me, I'm a spray paint son of a bitch, asshole, cheating bastard, all of this stuff. I'm gonna come for your jugular. But hey, she had her waiting to exhale moment. She did what she had to do. So, Kevin is like, well, I see you found out about my investment property, and the cops were there when I showed up, and she's like, seriously, like 10 miles from where I live, and you have this house with her, whatever, whatever. So now we get to the scene where she is doing her Halloween How You Booing contest introduction. And I remember seeing this on YouTube because at this time I wasn't watching the Wendy show, but I remember like social media went into like a little bit of a frenzy this day when she fainted on TV. Because I remember somebody writing, whoa, I hope Wendy Williams is okay. She just fainted on live TV. So I was like, what? So I went on YouTube to look, and that was like the scariest moment ever, like for anyone. Like how she fainted on TV was very scary. Like it initially looked like she saw a ghost when it first started. And then it's like afterwards, it's like she had no control over her body. And then she just fainted. But then she closed out the show, came back and was like, listen, that wasn't a stunt. I'm overheated in my costume, so I passed out, due to my makeup, the lights, and I'm hot in my costume or whatever. But I'm a champ and I'm back and better. But we already knew or had an idea that it was more to it than that, which she admitted it was. It was the situation with Kevin and his mistress. It was the stress of everything that's going on because now Wendy is usually the one that dishes the dirt. Now she's a part of the hot topics that she speaks about. So right after this happened, she was put into rehab or whatever for alcohol because she was drinking a lot after this situation happened. So the whole entire time she was in rehab, she had no access to social media. She couldn't have a phone, she couldn't have a magazine, she couldn't watch TV. So somebody was able to like send her a gift with all of that in there. She had the media newspaper. She had somebody put a cell phone in a stuffed animal or whatever. And then I think she called her publicist or somebody and told them, like, listen, I'm ready to come home because there's so many topics going on that I need to be talking about, whatever, whatever. She also discovered a, um, a magazine article talking about her husband and his mistress, and how the mistress was pregnant. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for Wendy. Now, in the documentary, a friend of hers said, Wendy said, I could forgive an affair, but an affair that produces a baby, not for me. So when she got back to New York, she had a 24-hour sober coach and everything, and she was in a sober house and all of this other stuff. And she set it up to where she had her divorce lawyers, accountants, everybody, all of her legal people to separate from Kevin, like, divorce. Like she drew up divorce papers to take him off as executive producer and anything pertaining. Like she wanted everything to be her. Like she was the boss of everything. Because at this whole entire time Kevin was her manager. Kevin was the one that was protecting her. He was like, her own personal security. Now Wendy is in charge. So she filed for divorce from Kevin, and Kevin went on about his business or whatever. And now we get to the ending of the movie where when now Wendy appears and she's like, I'm in charge or whatever, how you doing, all of that other stuff. So and that was pretty much the end of the movie. And I will say the girl who played her, Sierra Payton, did an amazing job. She looked like her, had the mannerisms like her, all of that. She did an amazing job. Now, watching the documentary, I felt for her as well because she was very, very emotional throughout the whole documentary. And I mean, rightfully so, because it's still a fresh situation. All of this happened like within the past couple of years. So it's still a fresh situation. She's still emotional about it. You can tell that she still loves Kevin, but no more. Like, she's not no more. And she's like, I was a made woman before I met Kevin. And Kevin pretty much, he came on as her protector, but he was also someone who felt like he made her, or she's not going to be anything without him. So, seeing herself be the hot topic of hot topics, it's a lot. But she's like, I'll eat that. The fact that I talk about people, and then here it is, I have my own situation going on, so why not talk about that as well? But I want you to hear my truth from my mouth and not from anybody else's. So watching her documentary, I really felt for her. I felt for, the fact that, and I understand her wanting to protect her son, because she didn't show her son at all in the movie. She didn't talk. She spoke about him like very, very vaguely in her documentary, but she blurred out his face or whatever. If you want to see what her son looks like, just go to Google, but she, what I took from the documentary is that Wendy she's a very strong individual. She's been through a lot. She's reclaiming her life and picking up the pieces, and it's a process. But, she ought to be proud of herself because she's worked really hard to get where she's at. And, it can only get better from here. So I felt for her because you can tell she still loves Kevin. You can tell she still loves him. And this situation is very, very heavy on her heart. But I have a newfound respect for Wendy. I feel really bad that this is everything that she's had to go through or whatever as far as her marriage goes. Like, I feel really bad about that. But stuff like this happens, especially in the industry. It's no surprise or whatever. But I enjoyed the biopic. It was like Lifetime. This is how you do a biopic. This is how you do a biopic. And I said this before. I feel like Lifetime does the best biopics when it's a biopic that's that has a lot of controversy. Like the Anna Nicole story. They did a wonderful job with that one. The Wendy Williams story. Even Whitney, even though it wasn't all the way, like, her family was against Lifetime doing it, but even though her family was against it, it was still a good biopic. But I sometimes feel like Lifetime be desperate to do biopics and they don't be coming out right. The Brittany Murphy story was terrible. What's another one? The Aaliyah biopic. That was horrible because nobody looked like nobody they were supposed to in that biopic. And Aaliyah's family was heavily against them doing that. And mainly the Aaliyah biopic was more so focused on her relationship with R. Kelly. And it's like, come on, like, let this girl rest in peace. So yeah, those were like the main ones that were terrible or whatever. Like the main biopics that were like terrible, did not need to be done, leave it. But like Wendy's biopic was very good. Oh, the Tony Braxton biopic too. That was terrible too. I was bored with that one. And even though, and then like this, the thing that I don't understand is a lot of these artists be a part of their own biopics and it's still like don't be great. It's like the Tony Braxton one. Tony Braxton was, I think she was a producer or executive producer or whatever of her biopic. But the biopic was like, it was terrible to me. It really was. It was like, this was stuff that we already knew. The casting wasn't all that great. Like some of the people in the movie looked like, you know, her family members, and then some of the people didn't. So, like, yeah, it's just like certain biopics I don't think Lifetime should touch. But like Wendy Williams and Anna Nicole Smith and, you know, those sort of things, those are good biopics to do. But anyway, you let me know your thoughts about the biopic. Did you enjoy it? What would you rate it from on a scale of 1 to 10? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and also tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend about Tisha on the Tube. Thank you so much for watching. This was I Have Opinions. I appreciate you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Later.